Got digging through the past, crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball History.
Boom, 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 how. Hey friends, welcome back to the Oddball History podcast. This is your host, Scott Crisp, the mouth of the South, as they call me. This is episode 94, the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre and Similar Misadventures. It's rats, it's cane toads, it's sparrows, it's three unassuming animals that all brought different empires to their knees at different points. Good time. This is going to be coming out on Monday, April 20th, 2026. I was thinking I'd start doing Today in History here on the podcast. As well as on Instagram. I don't know if you follow on Instagram. If you do, you know about our Day in History posts that we've been doing all year, most of the year anyway. And if not, follow our asses over there on Instagram. Monday, April 20th, 2026, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, come on, honestly, how much worse could your life really get? That's not a real ad. I feel like I should say that. I don't want to get sued by these monsters. Use the code ALLTIMELOW for a free $4 credit toward your first bet on the Scripps National Spelling Bee. See, I have to say, it's fake. That's not a real promotion. On April 20th, though, in history, in 1862, Louis Pasteur and Claude Bernard complete an experiment disproving the theory of spontaneous generation. Eat shit theory of spontaneous generation, says Louis Pasteur and Claude Bernard. In 1918, the Red Baron Manfred von Richthofen registers the final two kills, the 79th and 80th total of his illustrious career, before getting slimed himself the following day. He took a round straight to the chest, nose dived into the ground, slammed his face into the butt of his gun on impact. Sounded pretty unpleasant. 1940, the actor James Gammon is born, the famous as Lou Brown, manager Lou Brown of the Cleveland Indians, that ragtag group in the Major League movies. He was born in Newman, Illinois, April 20th, 1940. Only big April 20th birthday in history I could find, actually. And then way back in 1164, the anti-pope Victor IV dies after falling into the gorilla enclosure at the Tuscany City Zoo. Not really. That wasn't how he died. I just had to shade that part in myself because it didn't say how he died. Probably illness. I mean, it was 1164. Probably some horrible pants-shitting illness. But anyway, R.I.P. to you, anti-pope Victor IV. Shout out. That's it for Today in History. A new thing. I hope it went over well. I hope you aren't going, hey, I hate this new thing. Hey, get it out of here. But we have a very special episode in store for you today. 3 instances of man setting out to conquer nature, and nature really letting us have it in return. Really taking swift and brutal revenge on us for our hubris that we're always demonstrating. We're talking Mao versus sparrows. We're talking the French Indo-Chinese government versus rats. And then, of course, we'll be getting into the cane toads imported into Australia in the 1930s to solve a beetle problem. And the toads continue to spread and terrorize the country's native wildlife to this very day. But first, as always, it's top comments of the week. Top comments of the week. It's top comments of the week. Hey, WRZ2E on YouTube, possibly a robot with a name like that. I'm kidding you. WRZ2E on YouTube. On episode 93, on the episode itself, he said, cool video. I'd be interested to see a part 2 after all their countless historical beefs to discuss. And that is so true. It was hard to narrow down the ones for that first episode. And I imagine if I make a second one, and I assume I will, it'll be hard to narrow those down too. There's just, people have hated other people for as long as people have been around. So there's just a lot to get into there. Appreciate the comment, WRZ2E on YouTube. Also, I referenced, this made me realize I referenced in the last episode the Beefs, the feud show on FX with about Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. Gave it a glowing review, the old Scott Crisp bump, if you will. I'm sure the streamers are seeing that in their numbers. But I talked about it, and yet I had not finished it. I'm bad at preparing in this way. I hadn't even finished the show, the TV show about the thing. I feel in retrospect undersold how insane the 1963 Oscars were. Because Betty Davis, she's viewing this as like her last best opportunity for an Oscar, and Joan Crawford is actively campaigning against her, and then she pulls the "I'm accepting on behalf of Anne Bancroft" bit. That's the context of that. So Betty, when that happened, was fucking seething. It's a really great scene. Again, Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange fucking they ate that shit up. Shout out to them. Welcome on the pod anytime, either of you. Over on Instagram, on the clip about Roald Amundsen and Robert F. Scott, Mo Aristocrat says, "The size of that man's balls for saying we don't need all these supplies. Take them because you need all the help you can get." Yes, exactly. That was Amundsen's whole thing. He was like, better to need it and not have it, And so he's packing tons of food. And Scott, it's a wild thing to read about how much he fucked off the preparation. It was really relatable, actually. Him just being like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He really treated an unprecedented trip to the South Pole of the Earth. He treated it like here in North Texas, like a trip to like Windstar. Like you're just gonna go gamble for 6 hours at Windstar and then come back. That's how he prepared for his unprecedented and ultimately deadly trip to the South Pole. I guess he had been there before. That would make you a little cocky. He'd be like, "This is old shit. I know about the South Pole, all right? Have you been there? Because I have. Robert F. Scott. I will never die on that tundra." And he never did. But also on Instagram, our old pal Lindsay Velvet Spectre, she said one of our Today in History posts, it was about ABBA. I believe it was about Dancing Queen going to #1 in the U.S. I think that was 1977. But anyway, she said, "ABBA twice in 1 week. Yes, please, and thank you." Of course, we at Oddball History, we are committed to ABBA-related history. It's one of our guiding principles. Actually, I didn't know that much about ABBA until this week. This comment, and then me looking up the thing for the day in history, it made me realize I don't know anything about ABBA. So I looked up some did you knows. There were some alright ones. I won't say they were good, but they were moderately interesting, alright? Like, hey, how about this? Hey, did you know ABBA is an acronym of all the members' first names? Probably you did. If you like ABBA, you probably already knew that. I read that and I was like, shit, that seems like one everybody already knows. But hey, how about this one? They had to get permission to use the name ABBA from a seafood company, a Swedish seafood company. They said, fuck yeah, you can make disco tunes under our seafood packing name. Of course you can, ABBA. Oh, I liked this one. Their extravagant outfits were like a tax dodge. It was exploiting a Swedish loophole in Swedish tax law, where the only clothes that were demonstrably not for everyday wear were tax deductible. So they were like, throw another few inches on that motherfucking collar. I got to demonstrate to the government that I can't just wear this at any time, Throw some more sparkles on that shit. What is that? Is that fur? Put it on. And that's how they were living. Shout out ABBA. But anyway, now on to our main story of the week. The whole episode grew out of this story. I was reading about the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre. Our episode is titled The Great Hanoi Rat Massacre and Similar Misadventures. But we start in 1902 in Hanoi, French Indochina. The French government in charge of Vietnam at the time has a massive rat problem. What had happened was the French, under the leadership of Governor General of French Indochina, Paul Dumais, he was working out here after causing a national outrage. He tried to start an income tax, I believe it was, and it was a huge embarrassment. It nearly ruined his career. So he's over in French Indochina trying to run things there, kind of rehab his image and his career. In 1902, he had recently overseen the demolition and rebuilding of huge sections of the city to make it more like France. They were just making France and Vietnam pretty much. That was the idea. The larger idea is that the French want a back door to the wealth of China. They're really interested in that. So they get to work in present-day Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. And their remodeling of Hanoi is like a big part of this big project. And one signature of the project is of the remade Hanoi is miles and miles of brand new sewer. Most of them ran under the rich part of town, the white European part of town. Of course, it does help when soldiers from the French expeditionary forces returning from Algeria cause a cholera outbreak in Hanoi. They help with that, the sewers. It's a good thing. They come in handy there. They're not so good for the the city's burgeoning rat problem. There's rats everywhere. For the rats, these new sewers they're like the Titanic. I mean, they've never seen rat luxury on this scale before. They have no natural predators in these sewers and access to all the wealthiest homes. It's a rat superhighway. And besides that, with the no natural predators, it's just rat Love Island down there 24/7. And folks, the hideaway is open. The rat population explodes. And look, there's never a good time for the rat population to explode, but this was one of the worst. In 1902, the world is in the grips of the third bubonic plague outbreak, which would go on to kill at least 15 million people between 1855 and 1960. And just 8 years before, in 1894, Alexander Yersin discovered the Yersinia pestis bacteria that caused the disease, and his colleague Paul Louis Simond linked it to fleas carried by rodents. Yersin is now the headmaster of Indochina Medical College, so he's watching all this firsthand, horrified. People have never been more terrified of rats, and suddenly rats are fucking everywhere. A lot of them came off ships from China and quickly found the brand new sewers and were like, fuck yeah. But pretty soon, large parts of Hanoi are just completely infested. I mean, they're more rat than city, these parts of town. People's babies are being carried away by rats working in highly organized teams. Not really. That's not really one of the things that was happening, but it could have happened, if they had had a mind to. If they weren't too busy engaging in a 24/7 subterranean rat orgy in the sewers, the beautiful Hanoi sewers. The French, of course, are alarmed. Hanoi is supposed to be their crown jewel, the model French colonial city, a slice of Paris on the other side of the world. They had moved the capital of Indochina to Hanoi that year, and Paul Dumais is planning a World's Fair called the Hanoi Exhibition in 1903 to show off how great they've made the city with colonialism. So they need to get this rat problem under control. That's a real pressing thing. They got to show off Hanoi, and they can't show off Hanoi if it's crawling with thousands of horny rats sucking and fucking each other in these beautiful sewers underneath the city. They set out to hunt the rats down at first by hiring local professional exterminators. They get the pros. They say, you guys are rat hunters, you guys take care of this. And they would go down in the sewer. This is horrible. This is one of the worst jobs I've ever heard of. Mike Rowe would really eat. He would come in his pants if he heard about this dirty job. That's how dirty it is. So they crawl down into the sewer and just kill the rats by hand, one by one. Maybe a bat with spikes in it, like Charlie has from Always Sunny. I'm not sure. The details are sparse. But remember, the rat levels, a new thing. These guys, they're not used to these veritable oceans of sewer rats, you know? They're not used to this at all. So there's some learning on the job going on at first. The work goes somewhat slow in the beginning, and then the numbers just skyrocket. They get to a real insane level. We're talking Sammy Sosa from 98 to 2000 shit, folks. These guys, they were damn good. They got damn good damn fast. In June of 1902, they were killing over 10,000 rats a day, and on a single day, May 30th, they killed 15,041 rats, a new record. Then on June 21st, they combined to shatter their old record, the May 30th record, when they killed 20,112 rats in a day. It's called a massacre for a reason, folks. That is, that's a lot of rats. They were getting after it. There's no two ways about it. As you can imagine, this is horrendous work. This is a living nightmare of a job. Every single day you go down in the sewers and kill rats in the darkness all day. There are snakes down there. There are spiders. There are scorpions. There are those gigantic Vietnamese centipedes. There's that famous picture of an American soldier holding one, and it's like been photoshopped. So that was kind of disappointing to learn that giant centipede had been photoshopped. Sorry if I just burst anyone's bubble out there that the giant centipede Vietnam photo was probably photoshopped. But at any size, you don't want to be tangling with a Vietnamese centipede while, fighting a rat. So eventually, the rat catchers say, look, enough is enough. They go on strike. They're like, look, this is a terrible job. All of our lives have turned into a single collective waking nightmare. Our point is we would like a small raise, please. And the government says, all right, you got us. They agree. They bump their commission up to 4 cents a rat, a cool 4 cents a rat. The rat catchers say, got yourself a goddamn deal. You got yourself some rat catchers. About to be rich in this motherfucker. And they go back down, go to work. They're wiping out thousands of rats each day. They are probably helping limit the spread of plague somewhat, but making not the slightest dent in the rat population. Also, the rat catchers were a really unpopular sight with the French around town. Because remember, most of the sewers are under the rich white European section of the city, so that's where the rat catchers are mostly operating. So they would always be popping out of manholes, giving these fancy French women a terrible fright. It's an all-time hilarious scene to imagine. The rat catchers always randomly popping out of manholes just covered in rat blood and human shit, carrying dozens, maybe hundreds of dead rats. And they would look scary. I'm kind of giving the rich ladies a hard time but they would look scary. I get it to some degree. You're not expecting to encounter a person covered in rat blood, the blood of thousands of rats, and then you do. That's a startling thing. These are rich shitbags who deserve the scare, honestly. But I get it. I get it on a certain level. Anyway, this exact thing happens enough. These guys keep popping out of manhole covers and women are fainting, and it keeps happening enough that they're getting a lot of calls about it. It's putting a real damper on the rat extermination operation. Eventually, between the angry letters and the absolutely zero discernible difference in the rat population, they pulled a plug on the program. They all told those professional rat killers killed about 55 million rats. But again, it didn't make a fucking difference in the world. It was all for nothing. There were more rats at this point than when they started. So the French government, they go to Plan B, which is where the comedy of errors really gets going in this story. Plan B is they create a bounty program for the public. They say, hey, how about you guys just figure this shit out, huh? How about you guys do it? We'll give you a cent per rat tail. They didn't want people bringing in whole dead rats. They were like, you just bring in the tail. We count that. That's enough for us. The French Indochinese government, I'm sure it'll be fine. But then French officials notice a bit of an upsetting trend. They're walking around patting themselves on the backs for their brilliant solution to the rat problem, smoking a cigarette probably, thinking, man, that rat thing was crazy. Glad that's behind us. They really think it's a perfect plan. Not only will they finally get rid of the rats for real this time, but they're encouraging an entrepreneurial spirit in the locals. And after all, isn't that the whole point of what we're doing here? Parentheses, aside from getting our hands on that sweet, sweet Chinese opium money. But the thing we're saying is the reason we're here. I mean, this is it. Teaching industriousness to the people while solving a rat problem. We're brilliant, and I'm not afraid to say it. And then they notice a bad thing for their purposes. They start seeing living, perfectly healthy rats without tails all over town. They're like, oh no. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. That has to... I bet the first one, they try to chalk it up as like, well, that's weird. That was weird. Probably doesn't mean anything, though. And then the second one, they're like, oh, fuck. The third one, you're like, oh, no. Oh, I see what's happening here. What was happening here was that the locals, of course, had quickly realized that they didn't... why kill the rat? And cut off your supply of future rats, cut off this rat tail money faucet that the French have open, when you could just take the tail, let the rat go, let it create more rats, more tails. The money's flowing, baby. We're all eating rock boys in the building tonight. Also, people are bringing in rats from other places in order to, other places aren't offering these high prices for rat tails. So they're actually, rats are being brought into the city. And then the last straw is the French discovered that there are a bunch of people outside the city that have erected pop-up rat farms that were essentially tail creation factories. They were breeding rats for their tails. At that point, the French are like, all right, you know what? We give up. We lose. The rats got us. We learned to live with the rats. And that's what they did. So in the end, after the last rat massacred in the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre was massacred, the plague raged on. The rat problem was worse than when they started. Nobody learned anything. By 1903, the year of the Hanoi exhibition, bubonic plague had infected 159 people and 110 of them had died. Only 6 of these cases and 2 of the deaths were French. The rest were native Vietnamese. In 1906, the plague got bad enough it caused a major economic downturn, which caused the French to enact a whole bunch of harsh and in some cases racist measures to curb the plague, which didn't help the locals cotton to the French any more than they were before the Black Death had arrived. The Rat Massacre stands as one of the best real-life examples of the economic principle of perverse incentives, the results of which are often called Cobra effects, based on a historically dubious story that's basically exactly like this story, only with the British Raj in India instead of French Indochina and cobras instead of rats. Outside of that, basically the same deal. And ours really happened. The Cobra one probably didn't, at least so saith online. But anyway, Paul Dumais was still hailed as, despite the rat debacle, he was still hailed as the best governor general French Indochina ever had. He's sometimes called the father of Indochina, I believe. And he successfully rehabbed his career and then went on to become president of France. How about that? Good on you, Paul Dumais. And then he made history as the president of France by becoming the second French president assassinated and the first to be assassinated by shooting. How about that? Naturally, of course, this is far from the only instance of man taking up arms against nature and just getting completely washed immediately. If you remember, we covered the Emu War early on in Australia when they went to war with emus. But we're going back to Australia for this next story. Not emus this time. This has to do with toads. So we're in Australia in the 1930s, where the sugarcane farmers have a problem. They're dealing with these native insects really going to town on their newly planted sugarcane crops. There's a great video on this story on YouTube, by the way, called "The Toad That Broke Australia" by Moore Pars. But so Britain's in the process of colonizing Australia in the late 19th century. They're planting acres and acres of sugarcane, and for the native gray-backed cane beetle and the French's beetle, this is fucking great news. They love eating sugarcane plants. Their larvae eat the roots of the plant, and the adults eat the tops of the sugarcane plant. It's like a sewer for a horny rat. They love it. They're in heaven in these new sugarcane fields, just acres and acres of sweet sugarcane. The beetles are doing great, but meanwhile the human farmers of the sugarcane, they are not happy with this arrangement at all. Eventually the Bureau of Sugar Experiment Stations, kind of the governmental arm of the sugar industry really, it had been established in 1900 as part of the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Stock, and its work funded by levies on sugarcane growers, which were then matched by the government. And the Bureau of Sugar Experiment Stations, the stupid assholes everybody's mad at in this story, it's all based on this 1932 research paper by Raquel Dexter that showed the cane toads native to South and mainland Central America eat the larvae of cane beetles. And then this guy Cyril Pemberton takes this research and introduces the toads to Hawaii, and then from Hawaii to Australia in concert with the stupid assholes over at the Bureau of Sugar Experiment Stations. In June of 1935, it starts with 102 cane toads flown from Hawaii to Gordonvale, Queensland. One died of dehydration on the flight, RIP, gone but not forgotten, Toad 103. But by March of 1937, around 62,000 toadlets were bred in captivity and then released around northern Queensland. The rollout of the toads was paused momentarily but resumed after September 1936. Like they were like, wait a minute, is there a chance this is a really terrible idea? Is there a chance that we're really going to rue the day that we let all these cane toads loose? And then they were like, nah, that's probably fine. It's good. Let's continue with the cane toad rollout. A monumentally bad idea, of course. They're airlifting these toads thousands of miles from their nearest natural predator. Predators who have learned, either they've developed an immunity to their venom. They have these big venomous sacs on the sides of their necks, the cane toads. And back home in Central and South America, their predators have either learned they've developed an immunity to the toxin, or they've learned to eat around it. But no such animals in Australia. They have no idea what to do with a cane toad, and it makes for a fucking nightmare. So predators that do eat the toads are being poisoned. They don't know how to eat around the venom sacs yet. On top of that, the toads eat everything, from insects to birds to rodents. To date, they've driven 75 species to critical status and made the northern quail, the Mertens water monitor, and Mitchell's water monitor endangered. And they spread like wildfire. That's like their main thing. They spread like crazy. By 1959, it was a little slow going at first, but it's since exploded. By 1959, the toads had colonized most of Queensland's east coast. By 1978, the toads had reached the border between Queensland and New South Wales, and by 1984, they had reached the border with the Northern Territory to the west. By 2011, the toads were estimated to number in the 200 million range. The big kicker in all this, all these toads are here. The big kicker in all this, of all the things the cane toads are devouring in their new home, the one thing they don't really fuck with is cane beetles. They don't really, they don't fuck with, they don't even see them most of the time, it turns out, because cane toads do not burrow for food. They don't dig for food, and the larva of the cane beetle, which was the thing, remember, that they were supposed to eat, is underground. Remember, they're eating the roots. And then the adults are up in the sugar cane. They're up in the tops of the plant. So they don't even run into cane toads ever. They just operate, they run in two completely different circles. They never see one another, let alone go to war with each other the way the cane farmers had hoped. In the end, there's no evidence the cane toads have affected the cane beetle population in any way, but they're still spreading slowly but surely across the continent, with new research suggesting they may be adapting to new environments, which could, of course, facilitate their further spread. Also, the toads on the western frontier of the Great Toad Migration are developing larger legs, which are helping them cover more ground. In 1994, they calculated the cane toad migrates an average of 25 miles per year, and then 20 years later, in 2014, that number was up to 37 miles per year. They're speeding up. The toads have also begun to wipe out dung beetle populations they hide in cow shits and wait for the dung beetles to come along and try to roll the shit into little balls like they do, which seems really cruel to me. You know, that seems extra mean because they love doing that. They love rolling shit into balls. They're also happy approaching this big mound of cow shit, and then bam, dead at the hands of a cane toad. It's tragic. Not unlike Joe Pesci's death in the movie Goodfellas, you know, where he thinks he's going to be a made man, but then instead he gets murdered. They whack him for how he did Billy Bats. This is the dung beetle equivalent of that. The central point here is that there's no getting rid of the cane toads. Much like the rats, you can only hope to contain them. They're here. They're queer. Get used to it. Statistically, I'm guessing, you know, some of them statistically must be. It's like Mr. Rogers said, in times of cane toad related anxiety, look for the helpers. And there are a few of those. A few species of bird, including the black kite and the terrorizing crow, have learned to flip the toads over and eat them that way, belly first, so they avoid the poison. And also, it was reported in 2014 that the Australian freshwater crocodile had learned to eat only the toad's back legs. Very smart by the Australian freshwater crocodile. But they're here. They're here to stay. They are an officially recognized state icon of Queensland now, along with the Great Barrier Reef. And the term itself, cane toad, is now a colloquial name for inhabitants of Queensland. Although that sounds like one that, does anyone really call them that? I don't know. Maybe. What do I know? I don't know anything about what Australians are calling themselves. I don't know why I was getting cocky about that, being like, I bet that's not really widely used. The point is, total victory for the cane toads. Congratulations to them on their takeover of a whole continent. Very impressive, guys. We'll be checking in with you. Which brings us to our final story of the week. The mistreated sparrows will have their revenge. We take you to 1955, China. War has just been declared by Chairman Mao. A war on sparrows. That's right. I don't know. I did that so dramatically, but it's the truth. He declared war on sparrows, those little guys, specifically the Eurasian tree sparrow. The Chinese government has no love for any sparrow, but the Eurasian tree sparrow is the one. I think is just the one that there's the most of, so it's catching the most heat. But so the idea is first mentioned in Mao's 17-point agriculture policy in 1955, and that's when the original anti-sparrow campaign starts. The Eliminate Sparrows campaign, as it's called, pretty catchy name. It's also known as the Smash Sparrows campaign, or the Attack Sparrows campaign, or the Beat Sparrows campaign. Had a lot of names, this campaign. In 1956, a group of biologists, including the hugely influential Chu Shi, came out in objection to the sparrow being classified as a pest, but nobody listened to them. Everyone was like, "Nah, sorry, we're already pretty fired up about the sparrows." Nobody listens. And then in 1957, the Beijing Daily published an article by Vice Minister of Education Zhao Jianren, might have been butchering that. Sorry if I am. Titled "Sparrows Are Clearly Pest Birds." That the article said that pest birds should be eradicated eradicated without hesitation. February 12th, 1958 is the official start of the Four Pests campaign, part of the Great Leap Forward. It identifies 4 pests for eradication: rats, flies, mosquitoes, and sparrows. So when this comes out, they kind of just roll the existing Eliminate Sparrows campaign into this campaign. Mao had asked everyone 5 and above to pitch in across the country. So it's like whacking day for 2 years straight, only without Bart and Lisa to stop it with the help of Barry White. Classes of school children would go kill sparrows as like a class project. They would build ladders so they could smash sparrows' nests. Sparrow suppression headquarters were set up across the country. There were also folk songs, including a popular one called Beat Drums and Gongs to Eliminate the Four Pests. Not the catchiest name I've ever heard of, but it apparently did very well. As well as there were poems maligning the sparrows. One poem by Guo Moruo called Cursing the Sparrow was published in the Beijing Evening News on April 21st, 1958, and it contained the lines, "You're a real bastard bird, jumping around with your heirs. You've committed crimes for thousands of years. Today we'll finally settle accounts with you. We'll attack you relentlessly, beating, bombing, and plundering, setting it all ablaze." He's really fired up about these sparrows. And the people of China, they make good on the threatening poem. They were chasing these sparrows down using nets, poles. They're shooting them out of the sky. They use glue traps, air guns, gongs, firecrackers, poison bait, or some would just catch them by hand. A big part of the campaign was focused on making loud noises so the sparrows wouldn't land and would eventually just drop dead of exhaustion. This part of the story, the actual campaign, was kind of a brutal read, honestly. It is not pleasant. It's just that all the details around the horror show are kind of amusing. But so the year 1958, a reported 1.9 billion rats and nearly 2 billion sparrows were killed. And then in 1959, another 1.5 billion rats and 1 billion sparrows. But by April 1960, it is clear that they've fucked up. They realized that without the sparrows, they thought sparrows ate an unacceptable amount of grain. They did not consult with any bird experts on how much grain these sparrows were eating, so they were just like, these guys are eating all the goddamn grain. It turns out they do eat a little grain, but they eat insects that left without sparrows to keep them in check just ran amok. By April 1960, when Mao called off the campaign against sparrows and replaced them on the list, funnily enough, with bed bugs, he was like, all right, sparrows are cool, but bed bugs, they're the new, fuck them, which I think we can all agree is the right decision. We like sparrows and we don't care for bed bugs here on Oddball History. According to a 2025 study, the sparrow extermination campaign was responsible for a 20% drop in crop reduction, leading to the death of upwards of 2 million people. In the end, China is forced to import 250,000 Eurasian sparrows from the Soviet Union. Admitting total defeat. You got us, sparrows. And we're sorry for trying to eliminate you for the last couple years. I don't know if they actually issued an apology to the sparrows. Probably not. You live and you learn, you know. But that's it for the Great Hanoi Rat Massacre and similar misadventures. Thank you for joining us on this week's Oddball History. I was thinking of doing a new segment starting this week called the Greek Myth of the Week. I know it's really catchy, right? I've been getting into Greek mythology and I love it, but I'm worried I'm going to forget all of it. It's going to go in one ear out the other. So I was like, I need to, if I fucking talk about it, then maybe I'll remember it better. It's my last ditch effort to hammer the stories of Greek mythology into my brain. They've never taken before, you know, they just never stick. Maybe I've never tried very hard, but the point is I'm reading my Edith Hamilton now. I'm reading the Edith Hamilton. I'm learning a lot. I love how much of a fucking comedy Greek mythology. It's Zeus is like omnipotent Buck Strickland Hank Hill's boss from King of the Hill. That explains Zeus. He's a near omnipotent Buck Strickland. You know how Buck Strickland's always cheating on his wife and not being very cunning about it? That's Zeus. That's like most of the stories. Zeus and Hera are always fighting because of it. And it's very fun. It gives them like a Tom and Jerry kind of dynamic. Only if like Tom and Jerry were married and instead of eating Jerry, Tom wanted Jerry to stop having sex with random maidens of the field all the time. But anyway, this week's myth, this is one of those stories. It's the story of Zeus and Io. So one time, Zeus, king of the gods, is up on Mount Olympus. He's perving on random women, presumably. He sees Io. He's like, damn, shawty. Whatever he said. He was impressed by her, is my point. And he's like, oh my God, I gotta cheat on my wife with this lady right now. Stat. So he starts an affair with Io without a second thought. And then he remembers, oh yeah, my wife, oh my God, she's a goddess. She'll surely find out about this soon. In a panic, he just turns out the lights on all of creation, throws a mantle of darkness over all of creation, then panics again and is like, oh shit, Hera will definitely know. She'll be like, the darkness is related to my cheating. She'll put 2 and 2 together real fast. That's not good. He flips the lights back on. Full disclosure, in one version of the story, he did turn the lights out so he could chase down and force himself on Io. But I like the zany version of it where he was just panicking and going, oh shit. That's much more fun. Okay, so he flips the lights back on. And he's like, I need a plan B. And pretty obvious when you think about it, he turns Io into a cow. He turns into a heifer, a really hot heifer, too. All the literature is really clear on that. This was an unimaginably sexy cow. One day, Hera sees Zeus hanging out with this weirdly, divinely sexy cow. And she's like, well, that's clearly Io. That's clearly that lady my husband wanted to have an affair with. He's turned her into a cow. I see what's going on here. Clocks him immediately. Maybe my favorite thing in all of the mythology so far. Io knowing immediately. She sees Zeus next to a cow and is like, oh yeah, you're fucking this bitch, aren't you? That was her just initial reaction, and she's right. Zeus, of course, denies he's Buck Strickland. Remember, Zeus is like, baby, no, you got it all wrong. This is just like some random really hot cow that I happened to notice from Mount Olympus. I came down. Wait, no, scratch that. On second thought, Gaia gave me this cow for being a really good king of the gods, just like a random gift for being such a good king of the gods. If you want to know the truth about this cow, and Hera's like, all right, that's fine. Give me the cow then. Since you have no emotional connection to the cow, give me the cow. And so Zeus is like, oh, fuck. I mean, of course. Yes, of course. Of course you can have the cow. Of course you can have the cow. I am not in love with the cow. Enjoy Io, or whatever this cow's name is. It might not even have a name being a cow, but enjoy. And then he walks away and is like, fuck. He's really bummed that Hera tricked him into giving her Io the cow. Naturally, Hera, her bitter ass, and look, she's bitter for a reason, all right, but she's really bitter. She takes to mistreating the cow, Io, punishing her for the affair she in no way asked for or wanted. But that's like most of Hera's deal. That's how she spends most of her time. Maybe a less scorned goddess would just be like, you know what? Her being a cow is probably punishment enough. Not Hera. Hera's like is very much not punishment enough. She takes her prisoner pretty much, Io the cow, and then she gets this platonic male friend of hers, Argus Panoptes, who happens to be a giant with 100 eyes, to watch her new spite pet cow named Io. Make sure Zeus's trifling ass doesn't come resume the affair with the heifer that he loves. But the thing about Zeus is his dedication to cheating on his wife just knows no bound. He's not going to let that shitbag Argus Panoptes stop him, not for a second. He calls in Hermes, the messenger god Hermes. He says, Hermes, how are you? Great. Hey, listen, I need you to kill 100-eyed giant. And Hermes is like, oh, let me guess, you were having an affair with a mortal, and then your wife caught you, so you turned her into a cow, but then your wife tricked you into giving her the cow, and now Argus Panoptes is watching the cow, so I got to kill him so you can get back to the cow. And he's like, I mean, yeah, pretty much. You pretty much got it. He dresses up as a traveling musician. That's his plan, impersonating a traveling musician. So he goes and he says, hey, Argus Panoptes, how's it going? Mind if I hang out with you? Play my panpipes. Yeah, I can sit with you, play my panpipes. Hermes sits down, starts trying to tell him incredibly boring stories to bore him to sleep, but none of them do the trick. Even on the boringest stories, when most of Argus Panoptes' eyes are closed, a few of them still remain open. He's a very good watchman in this way. But then finally, Hermes does the trick. He manages to tell him a story so boring that Argus falls asleep, and when he does, Hermes slew his ass. Doesn't ever say in anything I read how he slew his ass, but the important thing is he was slew. I like to think it was with like a sock full of quarters, like the beginning of the movie Death Wish before he gets his firearm. As thanks for his mostly good work watching Io, and for giving his life in this stupid, pointless game of cat and mouse between two gods, Hera rewards Argus by setting his eyes in the feather of her favorite bird, the peacock, which presumably Argus is like, thanks, I guess. I don't really see how that's doing much for me, Argus Panoptes, my eyes going into the feathers of your favorite bird, but all right. With Argus dead, Zeus frees Io the cow, but of course, Hera now blames Io not only for the affair she never wanted, but now also for the death of her favorite henchman / platonic male friend, Argus Panoptes. So she curses her with a large gadfly who bites at her incessantly, won't let Io sleep or even rest, causing her to wander all across Europe, from the Sea of Marmara, then known as the Propontis, to the Black Sea, which is how that passage got the name Bosporus Strait, which means ox crossing. When she reaches the Caucasus, Io sees Prometheus, an eagle, eating his liver, and she's like, oh my god, I wandered all the way to the goddamn Caucasus? Holy Christ, that fly just will not give me a break. Mercifully for Io, Prometheus has a bit of good news for her. He's up there getting his liver eaten by an eagle every day, but being a real trooper about it, like Prometheus is known to do. And he tells Io, your life will not always be so shitty, which is great to hear, you would imagine, for Io, whose life to this point has been really shitty. For one thing, Prometheus says, she will be a woman again someday, and for another, she'll have lots of children and grandchildren, and if that's not already a glowing enough prophecy for you, how's this catch your ear? Those children and grandchildren will be super famous, the best kind of children and grandchildren. You just got to go to Egypt, he tells her. Zeus is going to catch back up with you in Egypt. Io's like, hell yeah, Prometheus, I appreciate you, dog. And she heads on to Egypt, where Zeus changes her back into a woman, and then they have a son called Epiphus, who really, he kind of sucked, honestly. He was kind of like a, do you know who my dad is type, a real little, like he would be in the shitty frat if this was Animal House. Epiphus. Don't care for him much, but he was king of Egypt and the founder of Memphis, Egypt. So that's not nothing, I can't grudge him that. You can probably guess what happened to Epiphus in the end. Hera got enraged that Zeus's bastard son with her old nemesis Io was doing so well, going around founding cities and shit. So she arranges to have him killed in a hunting accident. Classic Hera, but you couldn't kill Io's shine. Her bloodline really did produce like literally every great hero in the mythology. You got Perseus, Hercules, Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights, Dolomite, Lion-O from Thundercats, The list goes on. And that's it for the Greek myth of the week, the inaugural Greek myth of the week. And it'll do it for the whole last episode of Oddball History. Episode 94, what was it called? The Great Hanoi Rat Massacre and Similar Misadventures. We appreciate you. Like us, follow us, hit us up on Instagram or YouTube. We love you all dearly. Until next time, au revoir.
Got digging through the past. Crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.